Hello everyone. What I'm going to share with you today, it is very intriguing. Imagine that you pass away and you have absolutely no awareness that it happened. I'm going to read a psychography that talks about a woman which her spirit returned home without knowing that her physical body died. She had no idea that actually she passed away. And these kind of things actually happen quite often. Well, might sounds a weird question, but do you think you'll be prepared for that moment? Don't think it will be so obvious, no? So pay close attention, as it can help you avoid making the same mistakes. And in the end of the psychography, I'm going to make some observation. I think that's very worth it to reflect on it. Perhaps observation that you have made yourself. Well, in the end of the video, we can see if your observations were the same than mine. There is a book called I Died. What Happens Now? This book is written by the medium Vera Lucia de Carvalho and coordinated by the spiritual mentor Antonio Carlos. The name of this book actually, it is a free translation because the original language is in Portuguese and I didn't find a version of this book in English. In case you look for that on the internet. And in case you find this book in English, please let me know. This book brings reports of psychography of spirits, and I will read one of the psychography in full for you. The idea of that is understanding how important it is for us to seek knowledge about spirituality, so that when we return to the spiritual realm, we have full awareness of our condition, and the things are a little bit easier there. It's a shame that I couldn't find a version in English of this book. Well, but that's a good reason to pay attention to what I have to share with you all. Let's go to the psychography. How many sorrows, agony, anxiety, disturbance, and suffering I didn't know, and I even couldn't understand what was happening to me. I dreamt it was then a nightmare from which I could not wake up. I did everything to wake up from that horrible sleep. I banged my head against the wall, I pinched myself so much times that I even got all sore. I even entered in the water. I remember that my mother used to say that the water helps to awake. Then I entered in the fountain in a square and the water passed through me and didn't get me wet. I heard from a man passing by, "Get out of there! You are dead, and the dead don't bath." I replied rudely to that, and he laughed. "You're a crazy woman. You die and pretend not to know. How long will you be maintaining this illusion?" Then I thought I had gone mad. I knew that in the city where I live, there was a sanatorium, and I went there searching for help. If I was sick, I need treatment. And I went walking. I arrived in front of the large place, and it was closed. I knocked on the gate, and after a bit, a man appeared in front of me. I greeted him and asked, "Sir, I want to come in and consult with a doctor." "What's wrong, sister?" he asked. "I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude, but I want to give this answer to the doctor." "Sister, this is a hospital for living people, so I need to know what's going on." "You are very presumptuous. I'm not your sister. I demand to see someone from the management right away, or else I will complain about you." "All right, come this way." He took my hand and we crossed the gate. I shouted, but he didn't seem to care. He took me to a place that didn't look like a hospital. It was a hall with many chairs, and at the front there was a table. My guide let go my hand and said to another man, "This lady came to admit it. She's deluded. Mark, have some patience. Remember, you should treat everyone well." She was rude to me. She thinks just because I'm a doorman, I'm inferior. She must be used to mistreat those she considers insignificant. That's probably why she's in this situation, but I will try to be more polite. I'm striving to be patient. The doorman stepped away, and the other man approached me, smiled, greeted me, and asked, "What do you desire?" "Are you a doctor? I only speak to a doctor." "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just tired." "Then sit here, help yourself with some cold water and rest. The doctor will come to see you as soon as possible." "Stay here, in this hall? Isn't there a better place?" "Oh, unfortunately not," he replied with a kind expression. I complained, whispering, "I think the hospital was horrible. What a poor service." I drank the water, which I found very tasty, and I sat down. I thought and I concluded that I would surely be mistreated. Am I insane for reasoning? I was reasoning and certainly wasn't sick. Then I thought that I had came to the wrong place. I stood up and I looked through the windows. I saw the courtyard with 2 ambulances. One of them was about to leave. I ran to the courtyard. I tried to hide. When the gate opened for the vehicle to go, I ran away. Nobody saw me. Or they pretend not to. It's better for me to leave this madhouse, I exclaimed. Tired, hungry, I kept walking, until I was even more exhausted. I sat on a bench in a nearby square. 3 people who I judged be vagabonds were nearby, and one of them said with a smile, "Hey madame, how does it feel to be discarnated?" "Go bother someone else," I respond angrily. "Watch how you talk to me. I'll call the police," I exclaimed. They laughed. "Madame is a fool. Doesn't she know discarnate beings can't call the police?" "Since you are acting all wise, what do you mean when you say discarnate or incarnated?" I asked. They laughed, and one of them explained to me. Discarnate are those of us who have died. Or better, our physical body have gone to the cemetery. But we haven't really ended, and we are still living here. Incarnate are those before they die. Do you understand? No, that's not true. You are making fun of me, and I won't give you that right. We end when the body dies. Nothing survives. God doesn't exist. You are just going to say you have seen God and talked to him? They stopped laughing. And the one who spoke to me early said again, God is everywhere, even within us, as an expression of love. I'm a wanderer in the spiritual realm. I like to live in this way. But I understand few things. I think when we become receptive, we feel God. It's better reconsider your beliefs. You believe in false facts. Everything will be easier if you understand that your body has died. Go to hell, you lunatics! I shouted. And then they start laughing. And then I decided to head into my apartment, which was another horror, because no matter how much I pressed the elevator button, it didn't come. The door to my apartment was open. My belongings were no longer there. Another family lived there now. It was a couple with children. The sound was loud, and they were laughing and chatting excitedly, referring to an outing they would take. What's going on? Am I crazy? Am I dreaming? I walked around anxiously. I cried for hours. The family left for the outing, and I stayed there alone, suffering. I remember flashes of when I went unwell and the strong chest pain from falling in the living room. The maid found me the next day. The ambulance being placed on the stretcher and hearing Mrs. Carolina has passed away. Desperate to leave the apartment, I couldn't open the door. I realized I was trapped. It was horrible to be there unable to escape. No matter how much I screamed, banged, nobody heard me. I couldn't reach the intercom or the phone. It was a relief when the door opened and the family came in. I ran out and I sat on the floor in the hall. What do I do? I remember Magali, a neighbor who was scandalized by me being an atheist. Many times she tried to convince me that God exists. I stood by her apartment door, waiting, thinking about how prejudice I always faced for not being hypocritical, and openly say I was atheist. Don't believe in God? Don't you have a religion? I scandalize people. Sometimes I argue and I like to express my opinion. I had vast knowledge, and I found an absurd that educated and enlightened people believed in such a thing. The neighbor arrived, and I said hi to her, but she ignored me. In another situation, I would have said a few rude words and left. But anyway, I entered the apartment with her. Sorry for bothering you, Magali, but I'm in trouble, I said. Magali didn't respond, and she went to put her groceries away. I stood close to her while she was looking to the calendar, and she said, Today marks 9 months since Carolina died. Even though she didn't believe in God, may He protect her. She prayed for me. The doorbell rang, and Magali opened. It was the doorman, bring some package. I quickly left. I didn't want him to be trapped again. I went downstairs, and I went to a nearby square. I sat on a bench and started to think. Who should I seek for help? Perhaps my ex-husband? No, I don't want to. His wife and children don't like me. Besides, he's an idiot. He used to be an atheist, and because of a woman, he became a religious. He used to blame all my problems on atheism. Even Magali, to make me believe in God, tried to trick me by saying that I had died. Something's happening to me, but what could it be? I suffer a lot. Some people approached and sat beside me to talk. Can you see me? I asked. Of course, you are like us, a disembodied, one of them replied. Tired, I remained silent for a few minutes. Then I asked the woman to speak to me. Can you take me somewhere quiet? I want to think. Yeah, come with me. She took me to a strange place with little light. The woman left me in a corner beside some rocks. Here, you can reflect a lot. Think about your life and what you want now that you are dead, but alive, she said. I was alone, surrounded by confusion. I felt thirsty, hungry, cold, and very sad. I came to the conclusion that my body had died, and I was a wandering soul, the one I used to laugh at before. I died, and now I wondered. I cried, I was afraid, and I suffered. The disappointment was immense. I thought we die and cease to exist. Nothing exists, not even God. Time passed. I left and I walked around the city. I returned to my hidden place in the umbral. I stayed quiet and very sad. One day, I'll talk to another disembodied woman. It was a disappointment, I complained. I died and yet I'm still here, alive. I find it wonderful, she said. I didn't want to end. I don't complain about being disembodied. I live well without my physical body. Am I being punished because I didn't believe in anything, not even God? And now, I believe, I replied sincerely. I used to think I was dreaming, that I was crazy until I realized my body had died. It was buried and yet I continued to exist. God punished me for not believing Him. The lady spoke calmly. I think, my friend, that you didn't believe in God because you didn't understand Him. Our Father doesn't punish us. He exists, doesn't matter if someone believes in Him or not. You are feeling the consequence of your disbelief. I share my life story with that lady. My parents claimed to have a religion, but didn't follow it. I grew up without giving importance to religion's percept. And as an adult, I became a staunch atheist. I married someone without religion, who also became an atheist. I had 2 miscarriages. I underwent treatment to conceive. During this time, my husband and we were no longer getting along. I didn't want to conceive anymore, and we ended up separating. I lived alone in an apartment, and I didn't want to have a serious relationship anymore. I had boyfriends and lovers, retired, and traveled a lot. I felt good. I didn't act malicious towards anyone. I even practiced some acts of charity and favors that cost me nothing. I used to think, why do something for someone else? There is no reason to be charitable. I can't deprive myself or something or spend time helping others. It's not worth it. When I was in body, I felt the selfishness of the life I led. I only had acquaintances, no friends, and my family didn't care about me. They ignored me. My ex-husband had his own family. I spoke for hours and the lady listened attentively. When I finished, she commented, Carolina, you yourself conclude what happened with you. I was shocked. And she smiled, explaining, you received the reaction of your actions. You didn't care about anyone, so you didn't receive attention. You lived selfishly and received indifference. You didn't believe that life continued after the death of the physical body. And when that happened to you, you thought you were dreaming, or that you were sick, and you suffered. Will God forgive me for not believing Him? I asked. Why don't you ask for forgiveness, Carolina? When we recognize that we have made a mistake, asking for forgiveness benefits us. God is love. He is unoffended if one of His child doesn't believe in Him. I kneel down in tears and ask for forgiveness. I stayed like that for minutes, being sincere. Then the lady helped me up and I felt better. I continued crying. but the tears were of relief. Then, the lady took me to a relief post. I was enchanted by the house of charity. I was welcomed with relief and gratitude. I went there to learn how to live disembodied and be useful. And this happened after 20 years. Yes, I wondered for all those years and suffered a lot. But now I'm fine. I work and strive to give the best of myself to others. I do tasks where I learn to give my time, hours of my leisure, like when I could be strolling or resting. In the beginning, it was a sacrifice for me, but now I do it with love. I want to learn to love. Have you noticed that it isn't easy for an atheist to pass away? Because it is a difficult moment to use the expression, oh my God. And this expression gives us comfort and receptivity to receive help. I didn't believe in the survival of the spirit. I thought it was a theory without logical reasoning, fantastical and misleading. But my physical body died and survived. I had to change my beliefs. I needed to see to believe in spirituality. I didn't see God, but I learned to feel Him. Today, atheism seems fantastical and misleading to me. Carolina. Now let's pay close attention. This was the psychography of Carolina, who shared her experience with us. I took note of some points and I want to specifically comment on 4 things. In the psychography, she narrated the experience of feeling body needs, feelings like hungry, or being cold, or feeling thirsty, etc. And another soul even was teasing her, say that people don't bath, like the souls don't bath. That in a way is a physical thing. This indeed is normal for a recent disembodied soul to feel like those kind of needs, as the mind of the disincarnate is still very attached to the physical body. And this diminishes as the spirit evolves in the spiritual world. Even though there is something called perispirit, which is a kind of a spiritual body, the perispirit itself does have needs for certain fluids to maintain the well-being. However, it's not exactly like that, just like a brief explanation for now. It is a topic for another video. The place where Carolina wandered, it's called the umbral, where souls in greater need go. It's similar to our world, but in a different dimension. The umbral, from what is known about it, has different parts of inhabited by spirits of different needs of help and danger. The spirits requiring more intense work from the spiritual friends to help them. From my perspective, Carolina was in a calmer area, if I can say that about the umbral. In that place, there are also various help posts. If you're going to compare them to Earth, it would be more like community health centers for emergencies. This post help identify suffering brothers and sisters who are more open to be rescued. But those suffering souls, they need to want to be helped. It's just like on Earth, there are homeless people that they want to keep living that way. The same applies in the spiritual realm. In the psychography, one of the spirits who spoke to Carolina even said he was a wanderer in the spiritual plane and he liked to live in that way. A soul who didn't want to be rescued. It's all about free will. Now, the third observation is about the lady who listened to Carolina and suggests that she should ask God for forgiveness. It isn't explicitly mentioned in the psychography, but I believe this lady, she's one of the workers from those help posts. Perhaps she's already identified that Carolina was like in a receptive state of rescue and took the opportunity to approach her. Now, very important, the last point. And it's something that really can change your life if you keep this in mind constantly. Well, I confess I make a lot of efforts to keep that in mind all the time, but even so, I still forget sometimes. It's not really easy, I know that. But before we go to the last observation, and before I forget, for those of you who may have more advanced mediumship and need a little bit more of information to help you to deal with this, or for those of you who are people that want to learn more about the spiritual world, I will leave in the description of this video some books that they are mandatory reading for you that want to learn more, okay? Well, my fourth observation is that I want to make very clear is that Carolina did not go to the umbral and suffer there because she spent her entire life neglecting the existence of God. The psychography itself says, God does not punish anyone or get any angry with his children because they do not believe in him. Carolina was having the reaction of her actions through the selfish life she led. In other words, yes, an atheist can enter the kingdom of heaven. Of course, upon arrival the person might change their mind, but until then, it's a different story. Well friends, keep in mind, it's very common to see in psychography or in spiritual section the reflection after passing, even when still alive. Actually, it's better when it happens when we are alive, because maybe we still have time to change things. What I'm talking about is the regret and how people or spirit would give anything to have done things differently. Could have loved more, helped more, had more time spent with the people who loved and cared about us. Perhaps could have more time just to watch the sunset. As it says in the book The Messenger by the spirit of André Luiz, rare creatures begin to reflect on life and duties before the physical death. I hope you reflect in yours. We only appreciate things when we lose them, and normally it happens when there is no turning back. Please give a like or dislike, leave a comment. What do you think about the topic? And for all of you that is staying till now, I'm just gonna share a little thing that actually that's my first video that I'm doing without using AI voice. And I know that still sounds clumsy. Well, give them a little bit of time until I get used to this all right? And also, as you may have noticed slightly, English is not my first language, but I will give you my best to get to share the things that I know with you all, okay? Even though if the best option is to return to AI voice, okay? Well, thank you all for the support and God bless you.